Hello again, this is Sula, and you're listening to a commentary video on Final Fantasy V. This is part 3 of my Ironcore team, and we'll be starting with a battle against the Sandworm Boss. The Sandworm Boss is pretty unique to this game. It consists of facing off against this, worm-like creature in the desert who appears and shifts around randomly between 3 different holes. The idea is that you want to attack wherever the sandworm actually appears and not attack one of the empty holes. If you do hit the wrong target, then you end up getting counterattacked by the sandworm. He casts a demi spell that reduces everybody's hit points by half. That's why the little cutscene tells you not to use magic against the sandworm. It's actually not true that you can't use magic against the sandworm, but I guess the idea is that they're warning you against casting some spell that's going to hit the holes and then lead you to get counterattacked. The way to do this battle is just to be patient and make sure that you're actually hitting the sandworm itself rather than hitting one of the holes. So for example, you see my characters here taking their time and waiting until right after the sandworm moves in order to hit the thing. His one attack that he does is Quicksand. It always does 60 damage every time he uses it. It's not dangerous on its own per se, but it does inflict a hit point leak status. So if you look at the hit point bars, everybody's health is slowly counting down. So if you are getting hit with Demi as well as Quicksand, it can kill you pretty quickly. Right there is the one time I messed up in the fight. I had Ferris attack the sandworm, and I didn't take the time to wait and make sure that I was on the right hole. But I was lucky because the sandworm reappeared in the exact same spot, so I didn't get penalized for it. Anyway, as long as you're patient in this battle and you attack the right hole, attack the sandworm, make sure that you don't hit one of the holes. This isn't that tough of a battle, just make sure that you bring someone who can cast white magic so that you can heal up the damage, and it's not that bad. The one other thing I'll mention is that I had, before this battle, made sure to go out and get the blue spell Aqua Rake, which does a 8 times damage bonus against desert enemies. So I was getting a little bit tired of waiting on the sandworm, so I decided to have Ferris cast Aqua Rake, and boom, 4200 damage. So that's good enough for a one-hit kill there. Of course, I could have done that right at the start of the battle, but I wanted to show how it's possible to win this battle even if you don't have a one-hit kill spell like that. Okay, on to the next boss, which is Crakehall. This enemy you fight right after you get the airship, right after it's discovered, and you can see right away that this is a palette swap of the Crakehall Boss from the beginning of the game. He's quite similar. He also has the same attack, Tail Screw, that drops somebody down to near death, which you'll see the boss do in a minute here. Like Crakehall, he's also weak against lightning magic, so you can see me using Bolt 2 Sword and casting Bolt 2. The Tail Screw attack does, like I said, take somebody down to near death, so it looks really deadly, but Bartz attacks and does 1700 damage, and that's it. So Crakehall, not that tough. As long as you have any way of doing lightning damage, he goes down pretty fast. Next up is the battle against the Adamantium Turtle, or I'll just call him Adamantium for short. This boss is another all-physical boss. He doesn't cast any spells, he just attacks, and in fact his pattern is attack twice, and then on his next round he'll attack once, and then he'll go back to attacking twice, and so on and so forth. Always 2 attacks, then 1 attack. So you'll see right at the beginning of the battle here that he attacks twice, and then the next time he gets an action, he'll actually attack once. Those physical attacks do a lot of damage too. The thing that makes this boss tough, as well as his physical attacks, is that he has very high defense. You can see the attack that Ferris did on her counterattack didn't really do a whole lot of damage. So like I said, he's always in armor status, so you won't be doing a whole lot of damage physically. Because Adamantium is a pure physical boss, I'm using my 2 white magic users, Lena and Galuf, to cast armor status. There's really no need to use anything else. And for whatever reason, I didn't bring time magic to this battle. I was trying to get some points for the Beastmaster job on Lena, so that's why I'm just relying on armor in this fight instead of buffing up with haste, that sort of thing. The one weakness of this boss is that he's weak against ice magic. Being a turtle, I guess that means he's cold-blooded and he's weak against ice. So Bartz has cast Ice 2 Sword, and you can see that's doing way more damage than any of the other physical attacks here. All I have to do is keep healing with Cure 2 and using armor status if you noted when Adamantium attacked Bartz and Ferris in the front row, they took a lot less damage once they had armor. Finally, I realized that it was stupid to attack with Ferris since she wasn't doing any damage, and I switched over to Aqua Rake, which did was a lot more effective. So that's all for that battle. You do get a turtle shell, which is kind of nice. And on to Soul Cannon next. Soul Cannon consists of the one main big gun, which slowly counts down and then fires a surge beam, which we'll get to in a minute, and then 2 launchers, which are in the back, who will shoot missiles at you that decrease your hit points by 50% and inflict old or aging status. Now, I made a mistake here right at the beginning of the battle. I had Ferris and Bartz both attack the same launcher. I should have had them split up so that both launchers would have been taken out when I used the Rama summon spell here for Bolt of Judgment. So that was a mistake. I could have killed them both here, but instead it'll take one more attack from Bartz. Now, the missile that the launcher shot hit Lena. You can see her hair has changed to gray. That means she's been inflicted old status, which slowly decreases all your stats over time. But I'm able to cure that, of course, with the heal spell. So Bartz then attacks and takes out the second launcher next. So now the 2 launchers are gone, and all I have to worry about is the main cannon of Soul Cannon, which, like I said, will slowly count down and then fire off a big attack. I had Galuf cast Cure 2 here. Lena needs to be at full hit points for the battle, and the reason why I have him use the Cure spell is so that Lena can then keep casting Haste with her dimensional magic. Bartz now uses Bolt 2 Sword. Soul Cannon's weak against lightning, as you might imagine for a machine. I didn't have him use Bolt 2 Sword initially because the launchers don't have any elemental strengths or weaknesses, so made more sense to attack first, and then now when I'm confronting the cannon itself, only now buff up with Bolt 2 Sword. As you've seen in the other battles, oh well, there I thought I was on Bartz's command, so I accidentally had Galuf attack instead of using a summon spell. Yeah, that was kind of stupid there. Just like a bunch of these other boss fights that I've been recording here, you can see that Bolt 2 Sword does a ton of damage. Any of the bosses that have elemental weaknesses just take all kinds of damage with the Magic Sword plus Double Grip combo. So you could pretty much solo the game without any trouble with that combination here, at least in the early going. Ferris does respectable damage, but because she can't do lightning damage herself, she does a lot less. The energy level 128%, that's your cue that Soul Cannon's about to fire his Surge Beam, so right now I'm just waiting to heal up with White Magic as soon as it fires. There goes the Surge Beam. It does 50% of everyone's max life. Whatever your max HP are, does half of that. So immediately I use the Double Cure 2, and that heals up all the damage. Surge Beam also creates an HP leak effect, so you can see everybody's hit points are counting down. That makes it dangerous for any playthrough that doesn't have White Magic available. That means you usually have to just do nothing but burn through elixirs constantly. I do finally get smart and cast Slow on Soul Cannon. I should have done that right at the start of the battle, but if I had done that, you probably wouldn't have gotten to see Surge Beam, and I guess I did want to get that in the recording as well. Anyway, we just keep on attacking, and soon enough, the Soul Cannon goes down after inflicting the damage to it. Soul Cannon does the little explosion animation, and it's actually written very elaborately in the AI code. They give Soul Cannon 10,000 extra hit points just so that you're guaranteed to see the little explosion thing. And that confused me quite a bit when I first started playing. Okay, the last boss in the first world is Archaeoavis. He's at the end of the Lanka or Ronka ruins, in another translation. He goes through 5 different forms, although you only actually see the last one. They go through all the different elements, starting with Earth, and then through Ice, Fire, Lightning, and then finally a final undead form. Archaeoavis starts out with high physical defense and low magic resist, and then that changes as you go through. At the end, he has low physical defense and high magic resist. So you'll see at the start of the battle, you want to be using magic attacks. For example, Ferris attacked there and did, very low damage. I'm using Lightning from Galuf because that works on the first 3 forms. Eventually you'll see I have to switch over to Fire Magic because Lightning stops working. Anyway, if you watch the hit point bars closely, right there we switched over to the second form. It's real tough to see, but the little action bars that fill up just pause very briefly between each form. If you know what you're looking for, you can spot it, but there's no other indication. So right now we're on the second ice form of the boss. You can see Ferris is already doing more damage. She only did 60 damage against the first form, but she's up to 110 on the second form. So I go ahead, Lena keeps healing and buffing up with haste, and the other characters keep attacking. Right there, we move on to the third form, so now we're on the fire form of this boss. And the physical damage continues to increase from the characters. For instance, now Bart's is up to 400, he was at 300 before, and Ferris is up to 150 per hit. So once again, the defense keeps decreasing on these bosses as we keep moving through the different forms. And now that everyone's been buffed up with haste status, I start switching over to armor because there's not that much else to do, as my characters otherwise just keep on attacking. Right there, we switch over to the fourth form, so now we're on the lightning form of the boss. As I said before, there wasn't a whole lot to do here, so I continue to cast armor. I might as well keep buffing up everybody's physical defense in case they get attacked. And here, on the fourth form, this is the lightning form, so I have to switch over to fire magic for Gala. And you can see, even though I'm continuing to use a flame rod, I'm doing less damage because these forms have higher magic defense now that I've been moving through them. The big damage is now coming from my physical attackers, both Ferris and Bart's. Now Bart's got hit with a claw attack. What that does is paralyze him, and when I played this game on solo variants, that tends to be very, very bad. But for this kind of playthrough, you know, it's a lot less dangerous because I can just heal up and get him out of paralyzed status. Okay, Arcuavis moves on to his final undead form. Like I said, this is the only one that gives you any normal visual indication, but it is in fact his fifth form if you look at the AI code. The final undead form is a little bit different. It has more hit points. It has 2,500 and all the other forms have 1,600. It's also immune to pretty much all of the elemental damage that you can do at this point in time in the game. So it's pointless to cast fire or ice or lightning. None of them will work. They'll all actually end up healing the boss instead. What I do, because we're now in the final form, is I cast Slow and cast Flash on him. These spells do work against the other forms, but it's kind of pointless when he's changing every couple of seconds. Every time he gets to a new form, I would have had to renew those spells, so I just waited until the end. Galuf is essentially another white mage. His black magic spells are useless, so that's why I'm having him cast armor there, instead of using an attack spell. All the damage is now coming from Bart's and Ferris, who are both doing pretty good damage here, so I just have the two mages parry. Right here, he uses Maelstrom, which hits everybody down to nil, so it looks like I'm in extreme danger here, but of course I'm really not. I would just heal up if in fact this battle kept on going any longer. But my screenshot came out bad. It looked like my party was about to die when I won the battle, so I was a little miffed about that. Anyway, that is the last boss in the first world. You get the final job classes here after beating him. The Dragoon, Chemist, Dancer, and one other one I can't remember. Anyway, that's the end of this part. Check back later, and we'll see how much further I can get without dying.